Hey everyone, this is Alaska from Call Out Culture. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. And if you are enjoying the podcast and you feel inspired to start your own, let me tell you about the system that we use. It is called Anchor. Best things about Anchor, it's free. There's tools that allow you to create and record and edit your podcast right from your phone and your computer. You can even add a song from Spotify directly from into your episodes. The possibilities are endless of what you could create, whether it's like music analysis or your own radio show or something that the world's never heard before. I don't know what that is. You figure that out. Not my job, yours. Anchor is going to distribute the podcast for you so it'll be heard on Spotify, Apple, and all the other podcast tunes you can use. Like all you do is you upload your podcast and boom, it appears in the other feeds. You can also make money through advertisements like this, or you can also set up like your own sort of Patreon fan support thing. There's no minimum listenership, and everything you need to make your podcast is in one place. So if you want to do a podcast, you want to be like us here at Call Out Culture, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm and get started.
Welcome to Call Out Culture Podcast with Alaska, Curly Castro, and Zilla Rock.
So today I wanted to talk about something that's been eating my craw. It's been really bothering me in recent times, in light of how many people we've been losing in hip hop recently. We've had a rap midlife crisis in terms of we lost a lot of MCs in their 48, 49, 50-year-old range. That would be people like Houdini. Not Ecstasy of Houdini.
Right.
DMX passed. Black Rob passed.
Humpty.
We've also been suffering. The Humpty, yes.
Yeah,
And
Shock.
forgive me. We're just going to go through people. We're going to be talking about a number of people tonight. Also, we've been having a crisis of some of our young warriors getting snuffed out for many reasons, mainly jealousy and hatred, if you ask me, because Young Dolph was a shining star. We all knew about Young Dolph, and for him to get murked that way is just unseemly. Nipsey Hussle, a few other cats. But I bring them up secondarily because my issue is coming to bear that I'm looking at the news sometimes and I see maybe another little news break about another rapper getting shot. Not a rapper dying, but a rapper getting shot and transitioning. But if you ask me and I look and I do any research onto this newscast or whatever, I've never seen them talk about this rapper in any way, shape, or form. This guy wasn't a rapper 3-4 weeks ago if you reported on him, but now all of a sudden, because he got shot in cold blood or whatever may have you in a confrontation or altercation, now this guy is a rapper. Now, I'm not going to hit you all a whole bunch of names. It's just a phenomenon that I'm seeing. So God bless the dead. I'm not disrespecting any of these cats, but it just shames me to see that now that's an occupation that somehow bubbles up to the surface when they're talking about all of these rapper deaths, whether it be at the hands of a deadly weapon. And I'm sick of this shit. I'm totally fed up with this shit. They're trying to bring back the intimate nature of violence associated with hip hop and how we're like hand in hand. And back in the height of the '80s, they got so bad that Karis One and them had to make songs like Stop the Violence, and there were gang truces based on this. But that was the byproduct of the power of hip hop. Hip hop actually stopped some of those violent activities and tendencies. Like I remember the truce, and I remember that was big. Like I'm old enough. Like when the Bloods and the Crips tied their flags together, and nobody ever saw that before, and that was hip hop. So to me, I think it's very lazy reporting. I think it's very slovenly, and I think it's very disrespectful that all of a sudden a young man loses his life for whatever reason, and now all of a sudden he's a rapper, even though you didn't report on him being a rapper in any way, shape, sound, or form before this moment. And I'm actually very tired of it. So, I think that's what I wanted to talk about: hip hop, the endangered species, and the way it gets reported to the modern people, in the modern era. So I'm not doing a shablow because I don't want to simulate any type of gun sounds, because then they'll be like, another rapper died listening to Call Out Culture.
Of course, we're a real negative influence as
rap podcast. Bang.
As a collective.
And if we look up and down, all the COVID deniers, if they're Second Amendment guys, maybe they died by the end of the gun. Who knows? But they don't report that. But you know, I'm being facetious, y'all, because I'm really upset about that phenomenon. I think it's very lazy reporting, and I'm very, very sickened by it and tired of it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I mean, I think it's symptomatic of a media culture in general that it's never been a great culture. I don't think the American media has been great ever.
Not to us. Yeah.
Agreed.
No,
not just
period.
In general, I would say, but period. Like,
yeah.
But specifically regarding this. But now it's even more so because there's code words, right? Because everything has to be polarized. So when you say rapper shot, it's automatically speaking to a certain group of people who want to find racial overtones not racial overtones, but like violent overtones and tie it to race and a certain race being violent. You know, you'd probably look at it, who's reporting it in certain ways, like, right? Like it's got to be a paper like The Post.
Yes.
Right. Like the New York Post, like something like that has an agenda that wants to create this idea that crime is everywhere. We're a decadent society that's celebrating crime. And this is just the chickens coming home to roost.
Oh yeah.
Like this is the violence that's being sowed and it's coming back. And it's not an issue with, you know, a society at large where there are, you know, neighborhoods that opportunity is completely stripped from. And, you know, there's a sort of environmental and political violence that goes on in those neighborhoods that spawns a sense of hopelessness. And, you know, young people get caught up in that because there aren't other opportunities. Instead of addressing that, they're just addressing the, I guess, not the cause, but the symptom.
Yeah. The byproduct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very easy narrative for them to try to sell that to the people that are coming to that magazine or newspaper.
Right.
To, you know, get that dopamine boost of being able to be like, see, we told you about these rappers.
You know what was always weird to me was like, I remember pointing this out to my dad when I was a kid. I'm like, so wait a second. Johnny Cash says, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like artistic. That's just like, he's a rabble rouser, right? I'm like, his name is the Man in Black. Yeah. Like this motherfucker did an album in a prison.
Yeah.
Like real shit. No, what rapper has done it beside like the CB4 video when they're, you know what I mean? Like overdoing MC Gusto's real life. But so I remember saying to my dad back then, and my dad was like, yeah, but it's different than, like fuck the police or some shit. And I was like, why? And he goes, because how they say it. And my dad, I've said on the show a bunch of times, my dad fucks with Mystery of Chess Boxing. He fucks with Lil Wayne. My dad likes all this shit. He's not like the typical, come on, champ, turn that down. Like he's not that kind of guy. He only ever said that about Simeon Drugs, which I've said on the podcast before. That was the first rap song. He's like, please turn this off. But I think it was like and we've talked about in other episodes. I feel like maybe Blueprint or somebody said it of like, it's okay when white culture people can be hard because it's not, because like we know it some in the innate way. I don't know, like we knew Johnny Cash and we knew it was like a character in a song, but if like that song that caught a lot of heat, the YG song, when there was the rise in Asian hate crimes, where he had that song from Meet the Flockers from My Crazy Life from 2016, where the whole song is about robbing people, which is hilarious. But he has one line in there about like robbing like a Korean store or something like that. And then they're like,
Black Korea came back up.
Black Korea came back up, right? And so it's like, we'll take that down. I'm like, well, it's funny. I was playing a song today for the kid at my job, the Sum 41 song, Fat Lip. where he says, doctors told my mom I should have had an abortion. That's a #1 song, right? So like there's no pro life groups being like shut down Sum 41 for abrogating abortion, because it's like, well, we know them. They're just like,
but it's like the signals that they want to acknowledge. So
right.
Most people would be remiss to not know that, like, young Dolph was a grand philanthropist. Like, he was giving back to his neighborhood like a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't leave his neighborhood outright. He would donate. He would build things in there. Same thing with Nipsey. Like, people don't realize that Nipsey had to fight to get that store in that little corner because he was being denied at every turn. He had the money. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's like what you choose to glorify. And when I see something, and again, forgive me because I'm just using this example. When I see like Young Crazy Shot, I think that was one of the rappers. I could be messing up his name. Young Crazy Shot was murdered. You know what I'm saying? In Memphis or some shit. Young rapper or whatever they start, and it's ridiculous. But like, I mean, to me, like Alaska brought up the signaling and the virtue signaling and the code words. They took the police had to investigate. They didn't know what Bobby Shmurda was talking about for months. For months in that song. And hot nigga. Like, the song was so coded to them, it took them forever to figure that fucking shit out. So don't tell me that, you know, we're putting that on Front Street or that's being super glorified. I don't think it's being glorified more than anything else. But I just think it's a shame that that's what they want our identity to be. All of us.
I just
think
it's tired. I think it's like it's so tight. It's like from like the early 90s outrage playbook of Dan Quayle and C. Dolores Tucker. It's like when you hear someone still sampling a song where I'm like, bro, that's been flipped 15 times. Like, you're still going to use that sample? Like, people are still flipping this sample in 2022. Like, yo, can't you just do a basic search to see that sample's been ground into the dirt? And so when I've always seen those things, like, I've had these conversations with people in my family about it, where they'll bring that up and I'll be like, yo, like what year is this? Like, are you running for the campaign trail in 1992? Like, are you Dan Quayle right now? Like, what are we talking about? Like, that's so old that you, but it's like, it's the same way Castro, you know, here everyone's like, oh, Philly fans, you guys, you boo people. And I'm like, they boo people in New York. They boo people in Chicago. They boo people in Kansas City. They boo people in Florida. We're not the only people that ever booed anyone. But because it became a myth and then we embraced it starting in the 70s and 80s, it's like anything comes up, oh, those Philadelphia fans. But I remember, like, in Chicago, they ran onto the field and a dad and his son beat the shit out of an umpire at a White Sox game. And no one said anything. They're like, oh, well, they just had a couple drinks. In Philly, they were like, you gotta demolish the team. You gotta, you know, get rid of that franchise. Those fans are a disgrace. You know what I mean? It's like,
it's self-serving. It's
self-serving.
What imagery and what message you want to pull from a cavalcade of messages and images that you see during a game or you see in a society, and what do you want to magnify? What do you want to echo? What do you want people to think that you know, that it resonates? And also, we're in such political times. People are putting it on their campaign trails. You know what I'm saying? Like, I saw this one guy. I'm so patriotic. You can vote for me. I'm against the. What he said, I'm against the woke mob. And it was like in the bottom corner of the poster. I said, what is going on here? You're against a woke mob? You want people to vote for you? What are we talking about here? Oh, so ridiculous. So, you know, look, young Black men, young men in general, young musicians, some of us do dabble in violent lifestyles. Some of us make it into songs. Make it into songs to get out of your situation, make it into songs just as therapy. But I challenge everybody to a man to ask some of these artists how therapeutic it is to have this type of outlet, as opposed to going out and shooting somebody. And I don't think we wouldn't be surprised with the answers, but I think the general public would be like, what? You stopped doing that to do this? Yeah, I did. I have to go to the studio and work with an engineer and be civilized, you know what I'm saying? And get my song mixed and get it out there. Because I realize that this is going to make me more money than trapping. This is going to give me more opportunities than standing on the corner with 18 nickel bags that I got to sell and flip. You know what I'm saying? It's low hanging fruit. That's for sure.
I mean, and it also, it's like red meat for the base, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So that, you know, it's like, it's something that's going to get you instant interaction, both positive and negative. And algorithms don't pay attention to what's positive and what's negative interaction.
No, they
It
tell what's popular, what's clicked.
It amplifies your profile. And, you know, I mean, I would say 75% of media engagement is finding people that hate you and have them go nuts about you. If you took away all the people that hate Tucker Carlson goes away.
Yep. Because he did before. You know, I saw old pictures of him. He was also ran. He was on Fox News. Hair was unkept. He looked like any other anchor they had. He was not remarkable.
His entire audience is like 3 million people. Which
Joe Rogan demolishes that daily. Which is crazy.
I'd say Joe Rogan, 50 to 60% of Joe Rogan's appeal is people hate Joe Rogan.
100%. Same thing as Howard Stern. And this is an old game. It's an old game.
It's an old game. And, you know, it's like you're giving those people power and allowing them to continue to do what they're doing by engaging with them. So I think you could engage with ideas, but it's important to ignore the people that are perpetuating bad ideas in a way that you amplify them every time that you retweet them, mention their name, talk about it. It's the same thing that goes about like with school shootings where you like don't mention the killer's name, right? It should be the same way with media people that are putting forth stupid fucking ideas. Because when you retweet or their article or their story about whatever it is, you are giving them plays, props, an audience that they don't have without you doing that.
True.
You know, and I think that.
Go ahead, man. Sorry.
That this is a similar thing to that, right? Like, you know, they're going to do this because they know it's going to get engagement and it's going to get their base is going to engage regardless.
Right.
But they also know that the people on the other side can't resist taking that bait.
Yo, you know what's wild is like everybody who follows me, I'm like on TikTok now, right? And
wait, you're on TikTok?
I'm on TikTok, fam. I'm reserving a spot. I'm reserving a spot for you to come join me. On TikTok, you can watch videos where they tell you how to find what all the trends are. Go to Google Analytics, use this hashtag. Right. One dude was like, yo, for right now, for some reason, if you're doing music, the algorithm is rewarding 7-second clips with music in them. So everyone's teaching you how to game the platform on TikTok, which is crazy, right? When I see and hear people figuring this out about a platform that's now bigger than Google, people have been knowing this in the media world since the 70s and 80s. You know what I mean? And then especially with cable news and then now with everything else. So they already know, like I said, like to me, it's like when I hear people say these things, I'm like, you're still talking about this shit? Like you're still equating rap with dangerous black people. You know what I mean? Like, or unsightly black people that should be punished, or when they die, it's clearly their fault because they are rappers, because rap is crime. Like that's the go-to elements. But I'm like, but the roots have been on Jimmy Fallon for 15 years, 10, 12 years. Like, like, what are you talking about? Like Nas does Hennessy commercials where he talks about like NASCAR drivers, like the first ever driver of a whatever sport. But it's insane. Like Ice-T, come on, man. How long has Ice-T been on television, man? 20 years? Like we're still talking about this stuff. But you're right in that they know that it's going to elicit some type of carnal reaction. And especially if it's a slow news day, there's not a lot going on. You could put that in the front and be like, yep, see, we always knew rappers die because they're angry maniac, gun-toting ghetto maniacs that do this to themselves. And it's corny, you know what I mean? Because it's like, you're right, Castro. They won't say like how many jobs did Nipsey Hussle create? How many shirts and hats did he move as a businessman with the Crenshaw? Like how him pricing those mixtapes at $100, how did that basically create like Griselda models, Makami models? You know what I mean? Like NFT models. He did that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it's like they're not going to, we dwell on that because we're in this space and we love it and we're, participants and students. But everyone else is like, nah, he got shot because he's a gangbanger. And that's what happens. You're a gangbanger, you die. And it's like, okay, man, sure. That would be like saying like, when John Lennon got shot, it's because he was a rock star and he was begging to die. He did drugs and he philandered with women. When John Lennon got killed, it was like a tragedy. It was like, oh my God, he was 40 years old. He was with his wife. It wasn't like, well, I mean, he hit his wife apparently, and he cheated on his first wife, and he did drugs with Bob Dylan. I mean, what do you expect? Of course you're going to get killed. Like no one's ever said that about John Lennon, like even though everything I said is true. So it's a strange way to always cast people as the villains or like the deserving people that meet their demise. So there you go.
All right, let's hit our first break. Thank y'all, gentlemen, for the first foray into this, subject that I was very interested in talking about. But let's hit our first break. We'll be back in a second.
Call out culture.
What up, y'all's panels, man? East Hampton Polar Boys. When the catalog out now, man. We got CDs, merch, all that. Insubordinaterecords.com, man. Make sure you don't sleep on it, because before you know it, it's going to be all gone. So make sure you head over there, stream it, do all that. Long live Lord Jones, man. Win the catalog, album of the year. You know what it is. Peace.
Hey yo, she caught me fly woo garments from overseas, Bolognese with extra palm, drown rotini, fresh panini, ground bill, chopped garlic and olives, get demolished, fly air goddess, never modest, perfect sonics fill my palace, wires missing, acoustics hitting, needle, bless the vinyl, been the champion, just give me the title.
It's that time again, we're back. Career Crooks, me and Small Professor. New album, Never at Peace, available now worldwide, streaming on all platforms. Very, very, very limited pieces of merch left. You can scoop it at wreckingcrew.bandcamp.com. If you've heard the Live from the Liner Notes episode, you know what it is, you know what we're about. If you haven't, go back and peep it. Play the new record featuring Shrapnel, I Alive, and Donovan Days, Blueprint, DJ Manipulator, and that's all she wrote. New banger, me and Small Pro, Never at Peace, Career Crooks, available now.
Call Out Culture Podcast. We're back.
Yeah, Call Out Culture Podcast is the most dangerous man in podcasting. That was me, Curly Castro, and my co-conspirators. That would be Zilla Rocker and the one and only Alaska.
Alaska Adams, when people call you that, even though that's not your rap name.
I mean, it's better than like people used to just call me Baked Alaska. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Baked Alaska. My
was
favorite
even
rapper
before
Baked Alaska.
People who call you up and ask you about your opinion on the imminent ice shelf that's about to fall and into the ocean and raise the ocean levels 2-3 feet.
Luckily, they have not. I'm glad I don't have to get into that conversation with anybody. I'm really trying to honestly, I'm trying to disappear, I think. That's kind of one of my goals. To sort of Twitter is going to be the only avenue that you can find me, I think, going forward. And not even to be anti-TikTok, just I'm really liking the idea of people not knowing me. The mystery, sort of
J-Elect,
MF Doom, every single musician and rock star before social media was invented.
Exactly.
Robert Plant.
When you want to be known, when you want to be seen, you're going to be seen.
Exactly.
What you want in Alaska?
Oh, real quick, just side note. Tonight I helped my wife install a bidet.
Wow.
Yeah, we're a bidet family now. This is day 0 of the bidet. I believe. What's up?
Which bathroom? Which one?
The main bathroom. I believe at the beginning of the pandemic, when everybody was hoarding toilet paper, I want to shout out Chumzilla. I'm pretty sure Chum was like, "There's no toilet paper, just buy a fucking bidet. Problem solved." I was like, "That's the smartest thing someone has said."
I have to fight back on that. The bidets are good, but I still think there needs to be a little bit of tissue assistance.
Well, of course, you need. Well, you can sit there and let it rock and kind of be at your own pace. If you want to make an appointment viewing.
Dab dry. Fab dry because you don't want to just be dripping.
You don't want to
you know.
get the wet underwear is a bad look for everyone. So
That's all I'm saying.
the bidet installation plan, it's a lot of work. You know, you got to get a really nice wrench. You got to get measuring tape. You got
the
to
water supply.
you got to turn the water. So you got to turn up the hot water, the cold, you know, all that. You got to look at the water levels in the toilet. But a good thing is it helps you clean the entire bathroom area because you're like, wow, there's just urine stains in places I didn't know urine could go. But I have a 6-year-old, so I'll be maybe I'll do some weekly progress reports because I'm not very enthused personally. I feel very evasive about this whole thing, but it's what the wife wanted for Christmas after a couple of the items I bought her didn't work out. So she was like, I think I just want to.
You didn't get your Raekwon book. But
I did not. I'm trying. You know what? Honestly, I'm trying to get on Audible because I want to hear him. I want to hear Ray.
See, wait. You
read
know,
that
here's
shit
the
to me.
weirdness. Is he reading his book, or?
I mean, Prodigy read his book.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I would assume so, but I mean,
yeah, My Infamous Life. I'm on the fence. I think I might just cop it because I get paid tomorrow. But I did not get the Raekwon. I got an ill like black button up cardigan. Shouts to Alaska. I got the black cardigan for Christmas. And then the ill light, super lightweight, thin Eddie Bauer reversible like mountain climbing winter coat, where it's like thinner than a denim jacket. But the week we've had, I'm sweating wearing this fucking jacket outside. It's crazy. Big advocate of the outerwear that's thinner than anything. So anyway, just want to hit you guys with the bidet updates.
Nice.
So anyway, so I think so on our break we were just talking about, you know, this topic as a whole, and there's the hip hop side of it, but then there's like the what Alaska and Castro were saying about like the media manipulation and then using rap as like the piñata at any time when someone's on the campaign trail as like low hanging fruit to stand, you know, I'm against these rappers and thugs because I am about, you know, family values or whatever. I don't know.
Right. Right.
And so I think the more important thing is like when did you first realize that on your own? Like, wow, the media or politicians or local community leaders, like they're overly stacking the deck against hip hop. Well,
obviously the big thing that sticks in other people's minds and in mine as well is the over exaggeration of City Lawrence Tucker with the steamrolling machine.
Steamroller, yeah.
Rolling over CDs. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it was just so over the top. And if anybody remembers, they were hooping and hollering it, like rain dancing. Woo! And like having a great old time. But another incident that caught my eye, this is a little later in the 90s. The day after Tupac died, I was in Philadelphia. And I woke up, and now mind you, us hip hop enthusiasts, none of us thought Tupac was gonna die because he always kind of gets shot and recovers. This would be like the third time. We've seen him recover from like groin shots, head shots, shootouts with police. So I don't think, you know, we weren't being naive, but we were just assuming that a couple of grazes, we didn't think it was like critical shots. That's how I remember it not being reported as such because I think they wanted to fuck with us, to be honest with you. They didn't tell us where the bullets were or, you know, if it was lower extremity, high extremity, if it was any important tissue hit. They didn't mention that. They just said shot as a larger descriptive term. So he passes overnight. And on the, I think it was the Daily News, I'm in Philadelphia, I wake up and somebody wrote, the headline read, "That's a wrap." And I mean, this man has money.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? This man has a supreme fan base. A fan base, I might want to add, that started with his revolutionary tactics. His fan base was built from that, strictly for my niggas. Brenda got a baby, talking about the government and things of that nature. His thug life came a little bit later, and then the whole West Coast opulence came even later than that. But if you were a fan of Tupac early on, like I was, it was very much because he was a revolutionary stalwart. He had Black Panther lineage. Godfather was Geronimo Pratt. His mother was in the Panther Party. She got released maybe 10 days before she had him because she was going through either the Panther 21 trial or it was a number of trials. Trust me, you don't even have to really pinpoint them. There's a number of trials trying to incarcerate any Panther they could find. And so that's where his base was. That's where it started. He was on Digital Underground, same song. He was in movies like Juice. He was doing his thing. So he definitely started on a revolutionary platform. Nobody can take that away from him. So to be so insensitive to this somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's cousin, so, and killed too young actually to be somebody's father, but definitely somebody's accomplice, somebody's friend. And for you to write that's a rap, like what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, that's some bullshit.
And what's a rap? And they spelled it, R-A-P. Like, were they laughing in the newsroom? Because don't these things have to go through a couple of co-signers before they, especially a cover story with covered block lettering? You know what I'm saying? And this is going to be on the front of the paper.
Yeah.
And they had the audacity to print that. It was disgusting to me. I was sickened. I was sickened to my stomach when I saw that. So I think that was the first major one above anything else.
So I have, there's two that really stand out to me. One of them was like the Puff Daddy City College thing. So
the Stampede?
The Stampede, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
wow.
goodness.
Yeah. Like that was a big one because that was just like that dominated the news.
Yes, it did.
Like dominated the news. So like that was like a huge one that like I was like, wow, this is crazy. They're really on it. And then like this isn't necessarily the news, but it was like when radio stations started advertising as, the hits of the 80s, 90s, and today without all that damn rap. Like, you know what I mean? Like to me, I was like, okay,
those are the calls. I remember that. Those are the call lines. Yes, they used to say
this is something that drives
rap.
an audience.
Yup.
You know what I'm saying? It's like there's an audience of people that what they're saying means something to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't just like, it wasn't like, I don't like rap music, so I don't want to listen to a rap station, because you know where to go. Like, you know where to go for the music you want to listen to on a radio back in the day, right?
Those advertisements were funny because there weren't any rap stations. Those advertisements were very funny because there wasn't any rap stations. But you trying to.
I mean, there was a rap station, or like there were stations that would have an hour of rap music.
Right.
But this would be like rock stations. Like, we don't play any of that rap crap. You know what I mean?
But then they played Eminem. That was my favorite.
Yeah,
when they started playing the real Slim Shady,
but they still played the Beastie Boys like crazy.
They played the Beastie Boys, Everlasting Kid Rock, but they hated rap. Yeah. Gotcha.
Look at that.
Yeah, like, so those were two big ones for me. Like, I mean, the Daily News had the Puff Daddy thing. Horror was the headline of like the front page of the Daily News for like when that shit happened. Like just giant block letters that say horror, and like somebody like basically
or too young. There was an incident at who was that? John Jay College, right? City College, and so it was a stampede event. People got scared. I don't even know if a weapon went off, but there was only one exit that was appropriated for entrance and exit.
Yeah,
and it was at a college where it was a gym also where there's multiple exits, but those are closed. And everybody was trying to get out. Thank you.
I believe they were padlocked closed.
Everybody was trying to get out as one exit, and they ended up suffocating and trampling some of the patients, patrons to death. And the media was on Puffy's ass as if he shot whatever, or if he caused the ruckus for them trying to get out this exit. It was want and fear. It was just too many. The average problem was there was too many people in that side of the space.
Yeah, they let too many people in.
It was so popular that they were letting people in and taking that money.
Yep.
But then they demonized it on the back end when they were wholly unequipped.
When shit went sideways.
A crisis, right? Whether it had been a fire, somebody yelling out gun, whatever it was, they were wholly inequipped. But these are the same people that took all of those people's tickets.
Took all the people's money, yeah.
Ignored all the fire hazard things that they probably got a whole list about, hey, once you get to this number, cut off and all that stuff. They ignored all that. They were happy, dancing in their money, didn't give that money back. There was no fun for any of those. Nowadays people pay for funerals and stuff. Nobody paid for anybody's funeral or anything like that. Yeah. None of that. It was just, oh my God, Puffy and this rap.
It was radioactive. If you touched that, then you
were this was before Puffy was Puffy.
Mm-hmm.
This was when Puffy was just a kid coming up from Howard on the train to throw parties and do promotions.
Like he was a kid. You know what I mean? Like the university is who needs to be responsible for those things,
Right.
not a college student who's putting together a benefit concert.
Exactly.
Right? Like they're the ones, the university and the student union are the ones that should be hiring the security, making sure that capacity is met, or not, not oversold. It's like all of those things are the ones that should be taken care of. But it was billed as rap music did this.
Yeah.
Specifically this young kid.
That's heavy, man. I remember
Yeah, Z, what are yours?
I'm just trying to think of like, I mean, my stuff. I remember like the main one early on was like, was Snoop, like Murder Was the Case era, when it was like everyone was like,
that was on MTV. That was
everywhere.
Him
Doing the show, and then cops on their way to get him at MTV. But I remember like, again from like CB4 and the gangster rap era, and like that whole hubbub with Eazy-E and everything of, like F the police. And I remember all those things, but I wasn't aware of like the media. I just remember like people being like, oh, those guys are fucking dangerous. Like, holy shit. Everything they're saying is real. Like they do all these things. But I remember with the Snoop thing, it just felt like it looked like everyone just wanted to nail this dude. And that was the tone of like, because he was the biggest dude out. He set all these records, like fastest selling solo rap album ever. And, he was the biggest guy, and Doggy Style's perfect. So it's like they wanted to already chop him down and get him for whatever was happening. And I remember like, when he was at the trial and he was found innocent, he put like, put the prayer hands to his head. I remember just like, he was my favorite rapper in the world at that time. So just being relieved for him. But it was like this whole buildup of everyone being like, we're going to get him. Like he deserves it. He did it. Look at all these disgusting lyrics. Look at this album cover, all these activist type people. And then you put him in a courtroom and it's like, no, he actually didn't do it. Like it didn't happen the way you wanted it to, just because he has songs that your kids like, and they're calling you a fucking clown or whatever, and you're falling for it. But I think like here's something I want to flip on its head. So I did like a little one shot just for our Patreon fans on Spider-Man 3, right? So if you're on Patreon, you get little mini tiny episodes from one of us, right? Anyway, James Franco is in the first Spider-Man series, and James Franco, like, okay, imagine if 2 Chainz did this. James Franco, like 4 years ago, had an acting school where he would have female participants and actresses come to his school and violate them while making them do sex scenes with him. He did that shit. So he basically created like artistic rape, and he got his spot blown, right? But this was like at the very, very beginning of Me Too. And so he just kind of like laid low for a while, but then HBO brought him back for The Deuce, where he's the main character. He plays 2 identical twin brothers. Great show. But they still did the show with him. And then he just didn't do any press, and he was kind of laying low. So I saw a couple clips of him talking about it now, 3-4 years later. He's like, oh, I realized what I did was wrong. And, I've been counseling for addiction, sex addiction. I was like, let 2 Chainz do like one of that once, right? He doesn't get to just lay low and be on a TV show.
Nope.
Because the presumption is he's a savage animal. And even though he's a dad and a part owner of the Atlanta Hawks CBA team and has a show on Vice, and he's basically to me like the down south Snoop Dogg at this point. It's like James Franco, he'll probably be in a movie again. Like, he just took like a 2-year, gap year, just kind of laid low. And then he's kind of like, oh yeah, I mean, I did it. It was wrong. Yeah, but here's the new thing I'm working on. So I feel like even now, him literally raping women under the guise of art in front of people, like in a school of acting, and saying to them like, if you can't do this with me now, how are you gonna do this if Michael Bay calls you to be in a movie or something? Like, he did this shit while he's, come on, man, he's a handsome dude. He's never had a problem getting women, but it's like when he does it, you're like, oh heavens, what? James Franco. Versus if 2 Chainz does it, it's like, well, see, I knew it. I knew 2 Chainz, like, from that perspective of the media. And I think that's like, I remember like years ago in media class, because that's what I went to college for, talking about like how in the 80s and early 90s, it was like all the depictions of black men on television were criminals, thugs, drug addicts, drug dealers, whatever. And how like just always seeing that imagery either introduced or reinforced like every awful stereotype of people. Whereas, we know how many black men are in this country compared to white people. It's not even fucking close. But always showing the imagery, whether it's on the show Cops or whatever during the crack era. It's like, I think that ripples through now. It's kind of fucked up to say, but it's like James Franco. I don't even know if you guys knew about that shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I knew about that shit.
Right, but it's not like he's. Here you go. Great example. He literally rapes women on stage, right, in the name of art. Dave Chappelle makes jokes about trans people, and it's a 3-month thing, right? Like, it's just weird. Like, is Dave Chappelle connected to rap in some way? Yeah, Dave Chappelle Block Party. Like, I'm not saying that's the only reason, but I'm like, it's weird to see how people hold these value systems and give well, you're allowed to make that mistake, I guess, versus, oh, you deserve to get whatever the hell's coming to you. I think that's the thing I find most repugnant.
Kevin Spacey, world renowned, everybody likes him, thinks it's cheap.
Oh man!
And you come to find out he's the fireman carry boys.
Come on, 15-year-olds,
13-year-olds. He's carrying them in his arms like across the threshold, like just disgusting thing. It's just disgusting thing. So
yeah,
it just goes to show, like, we all know about this. We write about it in our songs, that and inequalities that we see. The media glorifies it in their coverage. But all I'm saying is, even from our original part 1 of our episode, is we don't have to stand for it. I'm not standing for it.
Right.
I'm bucking that system. I'm not just gonna sweep it under the rug or let it go. Rapper, whoever, is not just gonna, die at the hands of the media, because I think it changes that. That bullet has been gone. Now the media is killing this kid. You know what I'm saying? With a semi-automatic, over and over again, shooting this kid who will be in the ground within 5 days. So yeah, a lot of that has to change. I mean, I do like independent media, because they can take their stance and not be called into the newsroom, or their stuff gets all chopped up.
Right.
So there's some hope there. You know what I mean? But look, it's funny because we're in these COVID times or whatever, but I've just been telling people, take care of yourself. Take care of your immediate self, your immediate structure, your molecule, you and your closest ones, your family, your friends, and hopefully that radiates outward. Because that's why, people don't know I'm going through, major therapy right now. And all I'm trying to do is just radiate positivity outward.
Right.
It reaches my therapist and they reflect it back to me. If I was some curmudgeon here, cursing and slamming the machinery, I don't want to do that. I have this hook type extendo arm to help me put my socks and my pants on, because I have certain restrictions of how I can move. Should I take offense to it? Oh, I'm a pure-blooded American. I should be able to put my pants on. No, I can't put my pants on the way I used to right now. It's going to take me some time. So my humility has to take a back seat to my desire to want to bring back some sense of normalcy. And I'm never going to be ashamed of that. I'm radiating positivity. And everything they teach me in here, they teach me how to put on my socks. I'm going to be the best sock putter on that you fucking know in your life. You know what I'm saying? And same way, I'm going to be the best fucking rapper you ever seen in your life. And I don't mind people, so-called, like, we bring up dog, like, people want to know what they want to know. I know some dangerous individuals. I know some not dangerous individuals.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I know some criminal rappers. I know some way uncriminal rappers. You know what I'm saying? I know some girls that are more criminal than some of the men.
Oh,
so shit. I'm not letting the stereotypes don't run me, and I will not let them do such. And like I said, I will continue to buck this trend. I will fight, and I will keep talking out about this type of thing. But I'm with Alaska. We're gonna wrestle free that the media machine that we need. They can have that media machine that they got. We're gonna wrestle free the little section that we need that we can use, and we're gonna use it, we're gonna manipulate it, and we're gonna utilize it to our positive ends. And that's what I gotta say, John.
I respect it, man. I think it's just interesting. Like, I'm curious, all of our listeners and friends and peers, I'm sure like they've noticed this shit too. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, it just always feels like, right. Like we're all pretty sharp people. I just feel like it's always, like everything is assumed to be less than or gross or, like I said, hyper violent or guilty already. And it's like, it's from the hip hop world. Whereas like actual, like Epstein, Kevin Spacey, like these people do actually like really heinous, fucked up shit. Right. And in the rap world, some of the dudes that have done like wild shit, like G-Dep committed to, or, gave volunteered information and he murdered somebody. Like he's, rap people have done wild shit too. Like that's obvious. Like if you watch the DMX documentary, like it's really powerful. His whole life struggled, but I feel like if DMX struggles, it's like, well, yeah, he's a fucking maniac. Whereas like if like Alaska, what's the dude from Van Halen? What's that motherfucker?
David Lee Roth.
Yeah, like if David Lee, if he's on like celebrity rehab 4 times, it's like, well, he's just he's got a disease. You know
I'm
what I
glad
mean?
you brought up G-Rap. He
G-Dep,
whether he was G-Dep, excuse me.
My bad.
Regardless of his religion or whatever, he needed redemption because
Mm.
he was free and clear. Nobody knew anything of that incident. Nobody knew he took a life, but in his mind, I need redemption. And maybe that was him hanging out in the hip hop sphere. Maybe that was him seeing, hey, you can. There's a lot of retribution in hip hop. So when we hear these tales of these cats that used to trap or be on the corners and stuff, they literally are, before our eyes, turning their life around. Literally.
Oh, you know what it was real quick? This is what I'm you as you saying that, it reminds me, like, remember like when Common did like the White House thing for Obama and they were like gangster rapper Common on like Fox News or some shit,
or gangster rapper Ludacris on
Ludacris, yep.
or like what's that bitch named Tommy Loren? I don't know, remember that white bitch
Tommy Laren.
Yeah, remember she called Jay-Z something like, "Oh, your husband." He said Beyonce, like, your husband was a fucking drug dealer or some shit.
So many years ago. Yeah.
I'm like, that's not a secret, ho. Like that's old. Like that's old. That's old records.
Super old.
That's what I'm saying. Like I remember when that happened, I was like, your only shot against Jay-Z, now a billionaire, is he sold drugs in like 89 to 94, like 30 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Low hanging fruit.
That's what I'm saying.
That's how they want to introduce these folks. Get out of here, yo. Get out of here, man. These people have turned their life around and become overnight entrepreneurs.
Right.
And I keep on bringing up Dolph and Nipsey. Look up, I want our listeners, go look up what Young Dolph did for his community. Watch that list go from page 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7. Go look at some of the testimonials about people that were touched by Nipsey. Shoot, Nipsey changed the damn industry. People was changing how they was pricing their CDs. People were changing how they were acting.
Shit.
People were changing how they were getting property and not just trying to sell them t-shirts on a corner with a fold-out chair. It was like, yo, we need to acquire property. He made that known. There's like these 10 commandments of Nipsey. Go check those out. They're real. Nipsey was about to get into he was about to start telling kids and cats in the hood how to truly invest, how to look over a portfolio.
Wow.
How to take, $20 here, $40 there and put it in a stock or an IRA. He was about to tell them all of that. He was right there on the verge. I think he was about to get into Bitcoin before it got like campy.
Right.
I don't think he was going to make like a nip coin. He was about to really get into Bitcoin. He was going to tell everybody in his neighborhood, or if anybody wants to listen, how he was going to do that. Because him and his brother, Black Sam, that's what they were all about.
Wow.
That's what they were all about.
That's crazy, bro. Yeah, that shit is hard. Alaska, you got anything to add?
Well, I mean, I was thinking of like sort of the athlete comparison, right? Where when an athlete commits a crime, like even you think of like rape, right? When an athlete is accused of raping somebody,
right?
Whether it's a high school star, a college star, the media reaction, and like not even media, like community reaction a lot. The reaction is like, that girl is ruining that boy's life.
Right.
Whereas, you know, if it was the shoe was on a rapper, it would be the rapper's an animal.
Yeah, we already know that. Exactly.
Rapper's an
This is a
animal.
culture of crime. This is a culture of denigration of women. And, you know, I think it all just comes back to the lazy media narrative and an audience for these things and the stereotypes that they build up within our society. Right? Like, you know, I mean, anybody that rapes a woman, in my mind, should be thrown. Like, if you're going to have prison, those are the people that need to be in prison. In general, it's a fucked up thing, like the way that we look at a group of artists who are being creative, are making music, improving people's lives, and we buy into stereotypes, right? It's like, and it's such a cliche to even say this right now, but if Al Pacino and Robert De Niro were coming out of a restaurant and got lit up by some mafia dudes, they wouldn't be blamed for the violence that they put on the screen in their art.
Good call.
Like, you know, I feel like this is an argument that's constantly made, but it's the truth, right? Like, if Wes Craven was stabbed to death by a lunatic, nobody would be like, well, you made Freddy Krueger.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you're cultivating a culture of violence. You come from a culture of violence. So the same consideration should be given to artists who are making music that are talking about the community and the world as they see it, right? They shouldn't be considered the violence that they've seen in their lives. They should be seen as somebody that's talking about the things that they've seen. They should be given the same considerations as, you know, anybody would be. Sean Cunningham, who created Jason Voorhees and Friday the 13th. You know, if somebody chopped off his arm with a machete, nobody's blaming him.
Right. It's fucking, it's psychotic to me. And I think like with rap, it's like, because it was the first genre when dudes were like, no, this is me. This is my life. I only spit the real. This is the ghetto CNN. I only rap about what I know. Right.
I agree with you.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
Most people, they didn't question the content of the other musical genres. Nobody asked.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but
rock dudes are like, yo, I rock. This is my lifestyle. I'm rock and roll.
Right. So then what? So when like Sex Pistols or Judas Priest, like, why is it more quote unquote real when Eazy-E does it, but when D. Snyder from Twister, you know what I mean? Like what separates them?
Sister musicians playing instruments. They commit music with other forms than just their mouth. Today, just revealing to people that I'm a musician. I always start now. I'm a musician. What do you do? I'm a rapper. You play anything? I tap my throat. You know, that's my instrument. You know what I'm saying? And I think the perception that we're talking about with these other genres, they play instruments. They do it's music. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we could take it at surface value. It's music, as opposed to what we do. You know, and I'm not mincing words, but I heard people saying it's a bunch of niggas talking.
Oh, that was from the Daylight album. Yep.
Yeah, that's what they think.
So what do you think? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I wasn't.
Well, what do you think of this, right? Because like rap artists talk about, like, you know, I'm reporting on my life, on the things that I see, on the world around me, right? This is all real. It's not some imaginary shit. It's not some romanticized thing.
Right.
Which is often like kind of the thing that journalists try to go for as well. Right? Like, we talk about the world around us. We're, you know, telling you how things are, what's going on, but it's not considered sexy. Do you think there's an element of jealousy there?
Yes. There's, to me, clearly, and to go off Castro's point, for you to even modestly play a bass guitar, right? that takes some fucking time, effort, investment, money, blisters. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. Even being like Sid Vicious, who was terrible as a musician from the Sex Pistols, right? I think what has always bothered people, older people, the generation before us about rap was like, oh, there's no musicality. What are they doing? Like you said, they're just talking. They're just, saying this and saying that. And it's like, okay, can you do that then? Say that shit on beat, make that shit rap, tell a story, do a hook. Can you do that? And I've always said to people, I'd be like, you know how many actual words are in a rap song compared to like a rock song? A rock song, a verse has 4 bars. Then there's a bridge, and there'll be 2 verses.
Vocabulary.
Right. Is because it's all about melody, right? It's not even about the vocabulary. But I'm like, okay, but like I was listening to Stress, the Extinction Agenda today. Come on, bro. Like, that's 94. Pharaoh doing things no human had ever done in the world on that album. So
Still to this day,
right? So I think there is a clear-cut level of jealousy. And it's, I see it all the time with these media motherfuckers where it's like, because they've chosen a field, Alaska, you talk about this all day. Because they've chosen a field where it's like, I'm either a quote unquote freelancer who sidestep the comforts of a 9-to-5. I'm a fucking maverick, and everything I do is important because I'm not a fucking plebe like you. But then every media company they work for gets bought and sold, and then they're on the corner without a job every 7 months, being like, fucking corporations are trash and whatever. But then you have the flip side of like, oh yeah, I went to fucking Brown University, and now I make fucking $32,000 a year writing for Huffington Post or some shit. Like, what I mean? It's gonna be a hard pill to swallow when the baby made 50 fucking bands to do a verse. What I mean? He's problematic. So it's like they're always, we know this, man. Like, it's the eyes and ears of what people are gonna be ingesting. And I feel like with rap, it's always been, it's like even when we did our fantasy draft last week for fun, when I said like the Bill O'Reilly shit with Cam and Dame, like they were saying very viable things. Like, why do you talk about it this way? Why don't you talk about Cam being a businessman and like having a label, giving people jobs, teaching people to be entrepreneurs? That's what we do at Rockefeller. It's basically a business school. You're not going to say that. You're like, oh, you're corrupting the youth and you're glorifying bitches and hoes and violence. He's like, it's entertainment. He's like, what's the difference between me doing this and, like you said, De Niro and Scorsese, like being in a movie and selling the movie and making money off the movie? Like, what the fuck's the difference? It's all the same. So I totally agree with me and Alaska. This is all of our fucking combos. In public.
I mean, I want to point out something like about what you're talking about, the writing on the records. Like Homeboy Sandman mentioned that on one of his records, that I wrote more on this record than the Beatles did in their entire discography. Like just the amount of writing that goes into that. But yeah, I think there is an axe to grind, and I think that it goes back to what we were saying earlier, that the only real viable way for a lot of journalists to make ends meet is to create clickbaity shit, right? Like, I think that they were sold, a lot of them were sold a fake bill of goods, that there was going to be a ton of media jobs. The media industry is drying up. Local newspapers are gone. They don't want to work for local newspapers. They, all kind of thought that they were going to be on the next Gawker, the next Bill Simmons, have this online platform that was going to free them to become these mavericks that change the world, and it didn't happen. They're all bought up.
Yep.
Because that's what always happens with anything. It gets bought up.
Yep.
So now that the only way that they can make ends meet is to profiteer off of other shit. In some cases, that means taking the approach that we had talked about, where it's like, red meat for the base, or it's, the defenders of the people that they're talking about. Like, there's a ton of great writing and, articles coming out about these artists as well. Like, Jeff Weiss and those guys are doing great work. when it comes to shit like this. So, there are people talking about it, but they don't have the big platform.
Oh, speaking of Weiss and when his writing, that's another person, rest in peace, Tracheo Delula, who lost his life at a sponsored concert.
Yeah.
And it seems like, why nobody's talking about the concert and insecurity where somebody can have a scuffle and y'all lose control of that mini crowd. I saw it as a mini crowd in the back stage, and he gets a knife to the neck.
Yep.
Meaning security failed him. Was it Coachella?
Promoters failed.
Promoters failed. Organizers failed because he should have been safer than he was. All of them should have been safer than they were.
Yeah.
But they'll try to blame the element of hip hop and all that. But no.
How
this person get this thing? How did this person get this weapon in there?
Yeah.
How did this altercation get started where the main artist who's literally about to go on stage in a few minutes gets separated from his protection? You know what I mean? So a lot of things have been added to it. That's not always the case, yes.
Here's a great way to look at this, right? Like Woodstock 99, we had a big episode about this.
Yeah.
Still one of my favorites ever. Shouts to eMCee Town.
They found every single way that they could avoid blaming the artists on there.
Yeah.
To, discuss what happened, to discuss the violence that happened, the sexual assault that happened. It was the vendors, it was the venue, it was the promoters, it was MTV, it was, all of the shit. There was always another reason for it. They tried to find it
was Fight Club.
It was, what's that?
Well, it was Fight Club, which didn't come out for 6 more months.
It was the angst of young men. It was all this. It was never, shitty rock music that caused this.
Right.
Yeah. It was only shitty rock music like when everyone agreed that Limp Bizkit and Korn sucked.
Yeah.
But no one blamed Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh,
you know what I mean? In the immediate aftermath, they were way below. Yeah, they were way low on the totem pole compared to, because Limp Bizkit had a song called Break Stuff. You know what I mean? And then they made a song, but they were only on their second
the Red Hot
album.
Chili Peppers ended their set with Fire.
Right, on their fucking 10th album at 40 years old,
People lighting fire in the crowd, so
Yeah.
What it is.
But again, it was like they're the fun rambunctious ones with socks on their dick. They don't mean anything. Versus, this dude talking about like, a pack of chainsaw, I cut your ass raw. You know what I mean? And he's selling fucking $4 million a week with a fucking hat on backwards and shit like an asshole. But you're right. It's like they just want to. They've already built a narrative of who they don't like. Castro, we know this in basketball. The officials back when Ron Artest was playing, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna get him tonight. We're gonna get Ron Artest.
We're gonna get Rasheed Wallace. We're gonna get
Draymond.
We're gonna get Draymond. We're gonna get Shaq a little bit.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna get him.
All right, y'all. Listeners, we have come to the conclusion of what I think is a good topic: media manipulation and the premature death of the hip hop youth. You know what I'm saying? What is it? What do they say? Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
Right.
And that could be the name of the episode. But we have come to a conclusion of that. We hope y'all enjoy it. We hope we sparked a couple of conversations. We hope that we can get on Twitter and other platforms that we all frequent, and we can talk about this some more. So we can take back what's ours, which is our image, our output, and our excellence. We can reclaim all of that from these folks. They don't dictate shit no more. Shit, they don't even play videos on MTV and BET anymore.
Nah.
Those people are out. We don't need that. You know what I'm saying, lads? We don't need them no more. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Call Out Culture. Follow us on Twitter. We have Facebook, right? We have Facebook?
No.
Okay, don't follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram.
Yep.
And also, I want to shout out Zilla has started a burgeoning career on TikTok.
I'm killing it.
Where he'll be promoting material as well as Call Out Culture, the entity that we are. So
I haven't promoted Call Out Culture yet, but there are Call Out Culture fans on TikTok.
I'm trying to set you. I'm
on my way. I got to figure out how to promote, an audio thing on a visual platform. It's tricky. I'm learning. I'm just a student on TikTok. I spend the first 5 years just learning the game, and then I dominate. Hey, no problem.
Yeah, stay tuned. Wrecking Crew, Alaska. They always got some good stories that's coming. So we're not gonna give you a commercial spiel. I don't think it's appropriate with the episode. You know, everybody knows it. Everybody knows it.
Yo,
So we thank y'all for tuning in. If you want to become a patron, the instructions will be in the description of most of our blurs, whether that's on Spotify, iTunes, or on YouTube. And you know, give the boys a chance. I think we keep our patrons well fed. Nobody's starving over here.
no.
And we want more people to join the party. So we're going to do another watch party, another horrible movie. And we want to see all
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Call out, coach.
There you go.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.